Leaders are needed every day. Leaders are needed to stand up for others. Leaders are needed to keep the needle moving. Become the person you always wanted. On my journey of quitting alcohol, I'm over 500 days. I'm becoming the man I always wanted to look up to in my life. When I walk with God and immerse myself in His Word, I'm becoming the man I always wanted to look up to. When I'm leading a pack and creating a business and inspiring others with motivational content like this podcast, I'm becoming the voice I always wanted to hear when I needed to hear it. What I'm telling each and every one of you out there is you have the ability to lead. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ignite the World podcast. This is episode number 41, Elevate and Lead. I am your host, Jamie Dottie Garza. And woof, I've had a tremendous past week, especially from Wednesday to Friday. And while the topic is still reigning supreme in my heart and in my soul, I want to talk about leadership. And the older I get, the more I realize that leadership is absolutely essential, not only with raising my children, growing my family, but in my business, strengthening our community. And on Wednesday, I was blessed to be a part of an inner city leadership trip with the Fredericksburg Regional Chamber of Commerce. We went to Lexington, Kentucky, the bluegrass state. Kentucky blue on them. If you're watching the YouTube video, you see what's going on right here. Check that out. That's your boy right there, CEO, going to Lexington, Ignite Cinemas. And wow, it was, I did not expect to be filled with so much inspiration and wealth and sums of knowledge. Now, in context, I was essentially hired to, of course, document with video all three of those of events. It was filled, every day was filled with a lot of events, a lot of our leaders here in all the region. I'm talking Spotsylvania, Stafford County, Fredericksburg, King George, and Caroline County were being represented. And we're going to the source of Lexington, Kentucky, because they have made a great system intertwining everything. When we talk about regional, looking at it as a region and not just separated by counties. Of course, power of video. I'm in the right field. I do video marketing and video production. Yes, I was hired to go document, but what I took from it was way beyond that. And it is the fact that the change starts now. And I'm going to be a part of that change. Now, why I feel compelled to create this video is because it's funny. I had a lot of reflections and I was sharing with a lot of people on that trip that I respect. CEOs, superintendents. I met a lot of new faces too. But I had to reflect on myself, like, how did I end up here on this trip? Yes, it was business, but I'm a leader in my community as well. Like, how am I able to brush shoulders with all these change makers and needle movers? Little old me. And it is very humbling because I didn't imagine myself in this position 5 years ago. I had an idea of what I wanted to accomplish, but God has put me around here. It's no coincidence. I belong at the table. I am meant to be around here. I deserve to be here, but He has surrounded me with some elite individuals and I'm so grateful for. One of the big things in Kentucky, of course, in learning is that they are home to a Toyota, the biggest Toyota manufacturing plant in the world was there. We went to go visit it. We're talking 10,000 employees there. We're talking having such an ecosystem that they build within the school systems to cater jobs into that field, which drives the community. We went behind the scenes. I saw how everything was made. I saw the impact it has for children going into adulthood after high school, and also those who want a career path as an adult. Really cool. That was like one of my favorites, but my favorite overall was the school. Shout out to Frederick Douglass High School. They really blew my mind. And even upon going in there, I thought I was at a private school. It's not a private school. When the principals and superintendents were breaking down their structure, they operate like a community college where you have credits, you have a degree where you want to go, and they treat it as so when you go to college and you want to change your major, you already got a taste of that in high school. What I loved most was the fact that we saw there was a need for criminal justice, right? On their upstairs, there was literally a class being taught on the criminal justice system, practicing criminal law, civil law. And the guy teaching it was a past attorney. He still does it on the side. However, he is fully devoted to teaching the kids. That was going on in the school. They emphasized a need for video production and video marketing. And the gentleman who was giving me a tour, he said that his sister was at that school, graduated last year, and now she is serving as a marketing director, content creator for one of the big teams. I believe it was Kentucky, University of Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. But it stemmed from the growth of what was able to happen in high school. And when you saw their curriculum and when you learned and peeled it back, you realize, like, wow, this is a system that works. This is a system. Every child there was happy to be at school. No kidding. And it was mind-blowing because that was a public school in Kentucky. Shout out to Fredericksburg Douglass High. That was my favorite part of the trip. Why am I saying all this? Is because everything started with a change. And that change had to start with leadership. And that's what leadership is. It's an ongoing journey. I, too, believed I wasn't a leader. I didn't even know what that word was. I remember I got interviewed for a Leader podcast with Susan Spears here in my region for the Chamber of Commerce. And I remember she asked me a question like, where did I gain leadership? Something along that lines. And I had an honest answer, like, I didn't even know what leadership was growing up. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm a leader, you're going to be a leader. I really grew into it. It found me. Like, God put me in it. Like, here I am embarking on it still. And I want to make this a positive message for everybody out there that we can be a leader. We can lead a change. It might be small in the beginning, but the more consistent in those small things that happen equal for a big effect. And I've seen it firsthand, literally in Lexington. That whole area, they don't operate as separate counties. They operate as a big culmination force of a region, even down to their branding and marketing, which they elaborated hugely, is that everything's storytelling. That's a huge part of why it's successful. Collaboration and storytelling, because those stories were intertwining from everywhere we go. When we went to downtown, to the outskirts where we were going to Fredericksburg Douglass High, to the Toyota manufacturing plant, to everywhere in between. Those stories, even Keeneland, the raceway, they're big into racing and horsing. That was another place we went to that blew my mind. Their business model was just like, wait, people from all over the world will invest in horses to buy that range from $10,000 and can get all the way up to $13 million for a horse. They breed the best horses there because the grass in Kentucky is a huge source of protein, 26 grams of protein just off their grass alone. Anywho, all these things, right? Collaboration, effort, being better together, taking ego away, and having leaders lead. One of the big things they emphasize is the fact of getting young professionals to carry that momentum, because we tend to be more enthusiastic and want change. And as I reflected on that trip, I had to be the youngest on that trip. I'm 34 years old. And it came to me like, yo, it starts now. It starts here. It's time to elevate and lead. As I read the Bible more, I realized Jesus was appointed and anointed even at 12 years old. He was soaking up game from all the other wise individuals. He was leading at 12 years old. If you're listening to this, you may be called to be a leader. You may be called to influence. You may be called to a higher purpose. I know I'm convicted to do so. And I'm so excited for what can come, especially in the region where we're at now. And I will be part of helping that. Leaders are needed every day. Leaders are needed to stand up for others. Leaders are needed to keep the needle moving. Leaders are needed to keep everything flowing. Leaders are needed for growth. Leaders are needed to lead other leaders. Upon this recording this Thursday, I'm happy to help lead aspiring students in high school at a workforce convention. And I'm going to be talking about the power of social media, the good, the bad, the ugly. Because those students are going to learn what leadership looks like, owning your own business in this county, maybe not necessarily knowing what you're going to do outside of high school, but if you like social media, there will be a job for you because so many businesses need to have a social media presence these days. We're also going to talk about the ugly of it. I've seen social media, bullying is a big thing, which is whack, but how children perceive themselves and want it to be higher, because I'm around a lot of CEOs of companies and small business owners, and they look at your social media profile. Oh yeah, they're lurking. And it's all how you represent yourself, because essentially when you get on board and partner and become part of a company, get hired, you're representing them. Oh yeah, it's deep. But I'm going to start these leadership conversations. I remember I met this principal for Caroline County School. Shout out to Mr. Josh Just. I never met him a day in my life, but we instantly connected, and he is a phenomenal principal. And he said it best. He was like, I've become the principal. He's been doing it for 5 years. I've become the principal I always wanted. And that resonated with me because you could tell he's real. He's genuine, and he absolutely cares for his students. And I reflect back in my life, and I realize that I'm becoming the version of who I want to be and what I want to be, because these are the things I always wanted in my life. Always wanted a consistent figure. I wanted to be a leader to my kids because I become the father I always wanted. I always wanted to be a business owner who is so deep into the community and cares and is able to help others reach their goals by the gifts that God has blessed me with. That's what leadership is. Become, in closing sentiments of this, become the person you always wanted. And it might be hard. You might be leading a whole pack. I know on my journey of quitting alcohol, I'm over 500 days. I'm becoming the man I always wanted to look up to in my life. When I walk with God and immerse myself in His Word, I'm becoming the man I always wanted to look up to. When I'm leading a pack and creating a business and inspiring others with motivational content like this podcast, I'm becoming the voice I always wanted to hear when I needed to hear it. What I'm telling each and every one of you out there is you have the ability to lead. The hardest part is doing it, starting. And the second part is staying consistent. That's what I'm pushing. For all my young professionals out there who are millennials like myself, our time is coming. Our time is brewing. I've seen it firsthand. I heard it firsthand from leaders in Lexington who emphasize the need for our young professionals. We're up next. And then we still have to mold and groom the next generation behind us. But our time is coming, and it's slowly but surely arriving. By the end of this decade, 5 more years, or 6 more years, I should say, we here. Elevate and lead. This is our time. If you're on the fence and you don't think you're a leader, reflect back, because I didn't think I was a leader for a long time. Now I'm fully immersed and addicted to leadership. because it doesn't stop. Business, communications, relationships, parenthood, fatherhood, marriage, community, even functions at events. It all takes leaders. Leaders lead. I'm at a leadership Fredericksburg class right now, and it is the best thing that I've enrolled in this whole year. I'm just blessed to be a leader. I just want to share these thoughts while they're still fresh in me and inspire the world out there, because you too could have been like me, not thinking you're a leader or not knowing what leadership is. Same principles I teach now is the same principles I teach my kids, so I can be a working and leading example. That's the thing. You have to lead the example. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk, because eventually you will get exposed. You can't fake it. You can't fake it. That's all I have for you guys. Go out and lead. Start the lead. And remember, we are all like sticks of dynamite. The power's on the inside, but nothing happens until the fuse gets lit. Ignite the world.